everything that was summarized there, infield is in, the play should be home.
Yeah, the play should be home. I have no qualms in calling out Kevin Crash moments.
Yep.
This ain't it.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano.
And we're the host of the Locked On Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making us your very first listen every single day. Be sure to check out and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Locked On Rays. You can also find us on X and Instagram at Locked On Rays, and email us anytime, lockedonrays@gmail.com. Well, that was, in a word, disappointing. In another word, irritating, as the Rays fall to the Boston Red Sox in extra innings, 12 to be exact, at Fenway Park, as both teams are battling for third place in the AL East. A lot happened in that game. The Rays had multiple opportunities to close it out and win, and alas, they did not, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, there are many adjectives to describe what happened yesterday. I know Kevin Cash said irritating, and he's right, especially because the W was out there multiple times.
Mhm.
And in the 11th, there was a play to be made, and it wasn't made, and it has to be made. For those of you that did not watch the game, you might not know what play I'm talking about, but guess what? We have our friend Evan Klosky that will explain exactly what happened up next.
Cash took culpability for the communication in the 11th inning and said it was an irritating loss. And let me explain what happened on that play, because it directly resulted in the defeat. So this is actually when the ball is hit. Richie Palacios, the second baseman, infield is in. Remember, his first step is actually to field that ball in case it gets past Manuel Rodriguez. So he's in no position to turn to. Now Rodriguez, who makes a great play, turns to second. He's got nothing there. So what he has to do is square himself back up the home plate, pulling that thing to Ben Rortvedt. What ends up happening is he fields it, looks to second, nothing there, and then he twists his hips to home plate. So he's in no position to throw that ball home, not to mention his back is completely turned to the runner coming down third base. So with his body facing first base, that's the only play that he has. So Rodriguez is a young player, but those fundies have to be understood well before the pitch is thrown.
There you go.
Yeah. Really unfortunate moment there. And it's funny because I heard both broadcasts. Red Sox crew in real time was blaming Palacios. Rays crew was blaming Rodriguez. And based on what Klosky said, maybe a little bit on Kevin Cash for not totally outlining the situation and what needs to happen if this happens, if that happens, if something else happens. Think about anything that could happen and make sure you're prepared for that. And with everything that was summarized there, infield is in, the play should be home.
Yeah, the play should be home. I have no qualms in calling out Kevin Crash moments.
Yep.
This ain't it. This is Manuel Rodriguez not making the play. The play was there to be made. I understand Richie's not there to cover second. Regardless, you have the throw home.
Look, and I understand not to antagonize what Klosky is saying. I don't know Manny Rodriguez's exact age, but he is a big leaguer. And he's been in the big leagues. He's bounced around here and there for some time. He should know that situation. He should know all those types of situations. And I think going forward, this is going to be a highlighted, circled, underlined moment that in spring training, and it's just something that, okay, it happened. Now we can learn from it so it never happens again. So it blew up in your face to where hopefully you would think that every Rays pitcher and player will be prepared for a scenario like this going forward.
Now, just again, devil's advocate here. Is there communication on the field? Is Yandy Diaz saying throw home? Is Benny going here? Throw it here? Go home, home.
Yelling it out so vociferously like that you have no idea but to toss it home.
Exactly. Like, yeah, your hips might be facing first, like Klosky's saying, but if everybody's saying home, 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 then maybe you throw home.
Yeah.
Like, so what's the type of communication that was happening on the field right there? And I'm just not saying this is like chastise them, but this was on a Top Gun article a couple of weeks ago that the boys were kind of quiet in the dugout, and
Right.
it surprised Sean Armstrong when Richie was saying, "Hey, let's go get it, Army," and he was like, "Oh wow, like okay, I can do this." Like it seems like the quietness on the field has been a theme this year. So in that particular play, are his teammates backing him up and guiding him, saying home, home, home?
Yeah, that's something to keep in mind, and I'm sure that is a discussion and talking point going forward. But when you have veterans like Yandy and others that are on the field and within yelling distance, that's got to be communicated, and especially for the catcher as well. Before we move on, were you at all surprised that after that snafu unfolded, that the Rays opted to bring back Rodriguez for the 12th inning? I know you're sort of running out of options with the bullpen there after utilizing Armstrong, Maton, Clevenger, Fairbanks, and Adams. So you're running somewhat thin on arms there. But my first initial inclination was he's going to be thinking about that moment, and his confidence is going to be more or less shattered, and he's not going to be in the right headspace to come out for the bottom of the 12th with a runner on second after that.
I think you're right about all of that. I think you're right that he was going to be thinking about that moment because it's very difficult not to, especially when you're a young pitcher. You had the game. You had the W. You were about to shake hands. So I think you're right about that. And I think you're right about the arms. I mean, you're right. Armstrong, Maton, Clevenger, Fairbanks, Adam, Rodriguez. Who was left? Erasmo?
Yeah.
Like you don't have many options left in the tank there, so you have to give them one more
especially
shot.
if the idea is like, well, this could go to the 13th, 14th, maybe 15th inning, then you really have to have some sort of contingency plan beyond that. But I guess to summarize, I would say that after that happened, there wasn't much confidence from me that the Rays were going to pull out a win,
No, and
especially
again,
on the road at Fenway Park.
yeah, and you could go ahead and say, well, Jason Adam pitched nine pitches, and that was it. Why couldn't he come out for a second inning? I understand that. It's just, is it good for Adam right now to go 2 innings when that's not usually what he does? Like
Right.
ups and downs for relievers are particular. Unfortunately, I know we think that these guys can just have rubber arms, and perhaps they should, but the reality is that they don't. And so why would you do something like that? I know to win the game, I get it, but that W is not sure.
Right.
So I think ultimately there were a lot of bad choices to be made, and you just had to make the one that wasn't as bad, and that was maybe letting Manuel like eat it for a couple one. It wasn't a great decision, but what else could you do?
Yeah. And shout out to those other bullpen arms because they came to play.
They
Armstrong in particular, Jason Adams, Fairbanks, Clevenger. That's what you need to do. Throw a bunch of zeros on the board, limit the walks. I think one hit combined out of those guys if you're taking Rodriguez out of the equation.
Clevenger has been amazing his last 11 outings. 9 innings pitched, only 2 hits allowed, no runs, 3 walks, and 16 Ks in 9 innings. So Clevenger has turned it around. You're right. Everybody did fairly well. Fairbanks looked solid. Armstrong with 3 Ks after the debacle on Sunday against the Yankees. So good to see him bounce back. But this is the kind of bullpen that you would want to have if you're a Rays fan from the get-go. And it seems like maybe the boys are getting started with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have more to discuss on this, but first we have to tell you something important, and that is this. Passion, drive, and patience. That is the formula for winning championships. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors, they have everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and so much more. Whether you're into speed, power, style, or a combination thereof, eBay Motors has got you completely covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. And with all the parts you need at the prices you want, it is really easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. So go ahead, keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. So all our listeners in Australia got to fly over to the U.S. to make that order and purchase. So check it out today, ebaymotors.com. There was a lot else, good, bad, otherwise, that happened in this game for the Rays. I just want to point out one other bugaboo, if you will. I don't know if you observed or noticed it, but it was in the top of the 10th inning.
Mm-hmm.
There was a runner on second, I believe, 1 out. Zach Kelly was on the mound for the Red Sox, and Jonathan Aranda hits a ball to the pitcher and doesn't hustle. And Kelly almost blows the throw to first. And my thought is, we go back to it. We hammer it in. If you put the ball in play, good things happen. If you hustle on every play, more or less, good things happen. So had he hustled and maybe even put additional pressure on Zach Kelly, maybe he's safe. I know Aranda is about the furthest thing from fleet of foot, but with him just jogging to first, that was a bang play.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pitchers aren't used to making those types of throws.
No.
We see it all the time where pitchers overthrow, underthrow, or can't get the throw to the first baseman.
What's the one thing you can control? Your effort. And I know we're gonna sound like old men yelling at clouds here, but how are we wrong though? Like he made it a close play without going 100%. This is not a guy that is fleet of foot, correct? But you already have the evidence that him not being fleet of foot almost made it a play. Yeah. So if you gave the 100, perhaps you make it a little bit more pressure. And again, like, for those that are like injury, like, oh, why do you want him to pull anything? Like, no, first of all, they're athletes. Like, that's their job. Like, you have to go at it a moment at a time. And it's not like he's coming back from that type of injury, like a hamstring or a quad or a foot or something like that. No, it was his right ring finger that was fractured. It wasn't a lower body injury.
Not Brandon Lowe over here dealing with back and lower extremity issues.
So that injury aspect, if you want to turn it around, I just don't think it's. I would have liked to see a little bit more hustle for sure. Yeah. And it happened. Was it not in the 10th with?
Yeah, it was in the 10th, and it was a tie game, 3-3.
Sorry, but no. But it also happened with the shortstop throw, and it gets past him. Was that in the 11th, perhaps? Man, they're all blurring right now.
Yeah, there was the extra innings were pretty blurry.
Isak hits it, and then he gets to first because the shortstop double clutched and then throws it on the ground, and then the first baseman can make the play.
Correct.
I mean,
that stuff happens.
that stuff happens. It literally happened in the same game. So like, and again, you're coming out from the bench. You're making like your major league, not major league, but your 2024 debut. Like
You're
you
an
should be pumped.
unestablished major leaguer. You're not Yandy. You're not Randy. You're not Brandon Lowe. You're not thou who shall not be named. You are trying to make your bones and make a positive impression because there's competition. I know everybody loves Jonathan Aranda, but you also need to show up and show out because there are other guys waiting in the wings that want and may be gifted an opportunity at some point.
So yeah, that was disappointing. Again, there were many points in this game that you can say, you lost the game right there, or you could have won the game right there. But changing gears a little bit, it was very nice. And again, I know the standard is low right now because of what I'm about to say, but this is where we are right now. Aaron Civile made it to 5 innings. That's nice to see.
He had about as close as a quality start as you could have. And it could have been a lot messier if he allowed a walk. And there weren't many walks in this game from either side. So that's where you give up a mistake to one or two players. It doesn't turn into a 4 or 5 run inning. You can keep the score down and within reach. So I think Civile did everything he needed to do outside that home run to Rafaela, and I guess the double that was right down the heart of the plate to Dominic Smith. But I liked what he provided with the strikeouts and the caught lookings and basically commanding the edges, whether it was the top of the zone or throwing a breaking ball that starts outside and weasels in to the plate. Like, I thought he was pretty solid. He still has some work to do to lower that 5.83 ERA, but if he wants to remain in the rotation with some of the injured guys eventually coming back, these are the types of showings that he has to put forth. And it was a bit of a homecoming for him. I think he grew up a couple hours just outside of Boston, had a lot of friends and family there, so that was a nice moment for him. But he kept the Rays in the game, which is what you're looking for from a guy like that at this point.
Yeah, and he hadn't done that, completed 5 innings since April 16th, so definitely a step forward in the right direction. But maybe the homecoming kind of gave him a little more amp, and so that's good to see. Hopefully it keeps going because you're right. I think with the names that are coming back, I know Shane Boss is going to take his time and so far hasn't had great success, but he's coming back. Ryan Pepiot is going to come back. Springs hopefully comes back in the midsummer. So like there is competition coming. So you need to start to tighten up those screws if you're Civile, because nothing is guaranteed except for Zach Eflin, honestly. So good to see that he made that. But when you're getting strikeout looking, that's when you know you're fooling the hitter. Like the pitch mix is working very well because they don't even know what's coming. Like that's a really nice little thing that you can target in when you're watching these guys pitch, and that happened to Civile yesterday. So hopefully a step in the right direction, because we already talked about the bullpen. The bullpen seems to be way better than when we started the season. If he can join this rotation in a good way, maybe we can see some progress, because it's right now, Kev, it feels like 2 steps forward, 3 steps back.
Yeah, unfortunately, but he went more or less toe to toe with Nick Pivetta. I think Pivetta got a couple more strikeouts, and those are more pitching ninja highlights that Pivetta put forth than Civile. Some of the swings we saw on that sweeper, I guess Pitching Ninja calls them Expelliarmus, something like that, with a little ode to Harry Potter, I guess. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So,
I like those. Yeah.
Which how hard is it to be a wizard? Come on, you just point a wand and say one phrase, and then
I will tell you how hard it is. I'll give you 7 books to read, and then you can see. Yeah,
I'm at movie number 6 right now.
Well, baseball season is officially underway, so don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your Prize Picks entries, whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs. Take your pick of more or less and then add them to your Prize Picks entry today. And guess what? The NBA playoffs are heating up. Maybe you're a Cavs guy. Maybe you're an Indiana Pacers like your boy Kevin Weiss, and you're very happy that this is happening this year. Well, guess what? Get in the game, get some fun, throw some green Skittles, as we like to say here at Locked On Rays. So today, download the app and use code Locked On MLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the app today. Use code Locked On MLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, download Price Picks today.
Getting there.
Good.
But yeah, we saw some ugly swings from the likes of our boy Johnny DeLuca and some others based on what Pivetta was putting forth. Another positive, again, I know it's hard to be silver lining in a loss like this, especially where you have a situation where the team went 1 for 12 with runners in scoring position, completely unacceptable. But I think we're starting to see and have already started to see Randy come around because he had that home run over the Green Monster. Really, really tough pitch to handle from Pivetta. 95 fastball, up and in, and he's quick and strong enough to turn and burn on that and deposit it 400 feet, literally outside of the ballpark.
I think that swing tells me he's about to break out.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen that home run by Randy, go watch it, then put on YouTube if you think he's close, because that was vintage Randy. I'm going to murder the baseball. I know what you're going to throw me, and I'm going to deposit it in a parking lot. Like,
yeah,
it was a very, very good thing to see Randy be that confident in that swing. Now, again, he did say a couple weeks back, I'm not going to feel like I'm back until I hit 2 hits in a game. Hasn't happened yet, but that swing, Kevin, it made me feel good.
Yeah.
When I saw that, I was like, okay, maybe we're about to see him break out. And not to get crazy here, but he did eclipse 600 OPS.
Oh, hey, we're moving on up in the world.
Moving on up, folks. So Yandy, 671. Watch out. Slowly but surely, it's creeping up. Randy, 600. Slowly but surely creeping up. So, and you know who's not creeping up? Josh Lowe. And he's not creeping up. He's already there, baby.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's returned.
My God.
It's like he never missed any time, because I'm glad you pointed that out. I think having him in the lineup helps uplift Randy and Yandy, and Johnny DeLuca providing some things as well. It just beefs up the lineup in comparison to having the alternatives in that place. But Josh Lowe was on it last night.
Oh, man.
Pulls a home run, hits a double the other way, and would have had a hit up the middle if not for Chris Martin quick reflexes to catch the ball that went right at him. So
yeah,
I mean, he was basically able to locate the ball wherever he wanted and drive it wherever he wanted. So he has not missed a beat since coming back. And it's a shame that he missed so much time, because you just kind of idolize where this team would be if Lowe was in the lineup from day one and what kind of numbers. Again, he has to keep it up, but he is on pace for replicating what he did last season, essentially, I think.
Could you not say maybe a Josh Lowe type player can win you 2-3 games?
At least.
So,
at
like,
least. I mean,
yeah.
at his potential, he's probably a 5-6 WAR player.
So, you know, I know it's not like easy math of, you know, this is your WAR, so this is how many games you would win your team. It doesn't match up to that. But with the games that we have seen the Rays play and the frustrating losses that you're like, oh, that game was, a guy like Josh Lowe could be the X factor there, right? And you didn't have that. So it's good to see him now. 993 OPS, 320 average. I mean, he's just doing whatever he wants on the field, which is fantastic, because we need a back-to-back punch where pitchers don't know what to do. And that right now is Josh Lowe on the left side, and then you have Isaac Paredes on the right side. Like, that's what you want. Lefty and righty punch where, man, I really have to get through these guys. And then before then, it should be even more difficult, because a hot Yandy and a hot Randy, then now you have a very strong foursome in the lineup. that now
Oh,
it
yeah.
becomes a lineup that you're like, okay, well, how are we going to navigate through this? And if then you add an Ahmed Rosario, if you add a Johnny DeLuca, it gets to be deeper and deeper. So hopefully this is a good signs to come. But I just wanted to point out
Yeah.
Josh, because he, ever since being called up, he's done nothing but hit, man.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned Paredes because I know he wasn't the player of the game or anything like that, but he did a good job of getting an important run and putting the ball in play. I don't think he struck out in this game. So,
Yeah.
and he's showing, again, we know that every single bomb that he hits is going to be pulled, but he also has some finesse where, hey, I just need to get a ball to the outfield, quick base hit. I can shoot it the other way. It's not impossible for me. So he has that skill set and that ability. One other thing I want to note from this game, in my opinion, we saw a Hall of Famer last night in this game, a future Hall of Famer that performed in this game. Do you know who I'm talking about?
A future Hall of Famer. A future Hall of Famer that performed in this game. Kenley Jansen?
Yes. Do you think that Kenley Jansen will be a Hall of Famer?
I think relievers have it incredibly difficult. I think the Dodger aura helps them a ton.
Yes.
But what would you say would be the most important thing as a closer?
I would say saves and longevity, inconsistency.
Well, he's got definitely both of those. But then when you look at two names that are on the ballot right now in Wagner and K-Rod, and they're having difficulty. I mean, K-Rod's having difficulties just staying above 5%. And
Yeah.
Wagner is like on his 10th year and still not on there. I think you have to be Mariano, really, to just get to the Hall of Fame when you're a reliever like that. So Jansen, I would not put green skittles that he's going to make it. I think he should. I think he's got the numbers for it, but
Yeah.
relievers just they don't get liked. Even Craig Kimbrell, who I think is also a Hall of Famer, his kind of unsteadiness the last 3 to 5 years, I think, has cost him the Hall of Fame too.
My argument for Kenley Jansen, one, he is fifth all time in saves above Kimbrell, and depending on how this season goes, he would surpass K-Rod with like 100 fewer innings. So he has 427 saves in 100 or 828 innings. K-Rod 437 saves, 976 innings. Rivera, Hoffman, Lee Smith, they're all in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So Jansen gets to number 4 on that list and builds some momentum. You could make an argument there. Also, the storyline of Jansen, I think, is impressive in the sense of, like Rivera, he's a one-pitch pitcher. He's succeeded with the cutter, evolved with the cutter, even as he's lost velocity in his older age. And, I mean, he's a converted catcher, so there's that storyline. He's also had health issues with a heart condition that's creeped up on him multiple times and throughout COVID and so forth. So, and to my knowledge, no like major off the field issues like K-Rod has experienced.
Yeah.
So I would say he might be, if the demarcation is who's the next guy in, or the next maybe most deserving guy after Rivera, Hoffman, Lee Smith. When Kenley Jansen retires, it could be him. I just want to point it out that
No,
I think we just, I guess I always overlooked what Jansen had racked up and provided over the years, maybe from his time in the National League. But if you get a chance, look at his numbers, look at his history. And I mean, again, it's not like he has 427 saves and a 4 ERA. I mean, the ERA is about as low and impressive as it can be, 2.52 for his career. But I guess the one thing is, maybe the All-Star appearances, he just never got the love that he fully deserved. Like, I look at what he's done throughout his career, I would think, oh yeah, he's made 7, 8, 9 All-Star appearances, but it's really not that. But he also has the ring in tow, and he's got other awards to his name as well. So I just wanted to throw all that out there.
No, I think you make great arguments. In fact, if you want to go deeper on his story, he actually caught in the World of Baseball Classic. So this is in 2009, I think, which was the second installment of the Classic. He was the catcher. So like that's pretty neat, man. Like the transformation within the game itself, like that's pretty awesome. So if he were to break that top 5 and get to top 4 this season, I obviously think he's got the merits for it. I just don't think writers value relievers as maybe we think they should.
Right. Again, one of 7 pitchers to total 400 saves. When you're in that small territory, I think you cross 400 saves, maybe you need a Hall of Fame voter.
It's kind of like,
plus he's from Curacao too, so I think there's a lot there, not just what he puts on the field, but how he got to this point. I think there's enough juice to say, okay, maybe he will be a Hall of Famer. It might take his 9th or 10th year to get in, but and I played for big markets. I think that also has some appeal between the Red Sox, the Dodgers, and the Braves.
He's got a countryman in Andrew Jones from Curacao, so like maybe they can both be on the same platform. I don't know if they can make it with the years, but that would be pretty cool. And I think Curacao doesn't have enough media spotlights on the players that come out from the island, but they're pretty good. And this is one that is highlighted and should be highlighted, because I know that I'm not from Curacao, but I bet that everybody there knows who he is, and he's treated like a king.
Hit it in the comments. Is Kenley Jansen, or will Kenley Jansen be a Hall of Famer? And what's crazy too is some of his years he had 104, 109, 111 strikeouts. Like, that is crazy, crazy stuff.
Yeah.
You pitch, 65 innings and you get 110 strikeouts. It's pretty remarkable there. All right. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you tomorrow.